I'm Kat Hoiberg and welcome to this experimental pilot video edition of Unbound. Here's what we've got for you in store. Tor offices in London, and inside there is where the magic happens. But we're not interested in tricks and rabbits in hats, we're here for the books. Thanks for letting us have a look behind the scenes. I'm really excited to see what books you have in store for us.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. Before we go up, what's that doing behind your ear?
Okay.
And, hang on, and another one.
No, we talked about this. We're not here to see any magic tricks, just the books.
But, well,
No magic, just books.
it looks as if it's maybe a cyst anyway. Let's go upstairs. I'm Julie Crisp. I'm the Editorial Director of Tor UK, which is the science fiction and fantasy imprint of Tor Books. Yeah, I've been working in publishing now for 10 years. Oh God, that shows my age, doesn't it? But I think publishing tends to go in swings and roundabouts. So when I first started, everyone was sort of cutting back on books, and then there was a big sort of, let's go out and buy more books. And now people, again, sort of because of the recession and everything, we're being very, very focused about what we publish and how we publish it. So it's the same with any industry. There are trends. So things like horror, obviously huge in the 80s, not so big in the 90s, and now making a comeback now. So yeah, it changes all the time. Keeps it interesting.
Any particular gushing about this book?
I could gush about all of them. So I think 2011 we have got some really exciting books coming out. So we've got a new book by China Mieville called Embassy Town, which I know the fans are going to go completely wild for because it's just such an amazing read. And we've been doing some really interesting things with his backlist, and we're republishing and we're doing new covers for them, which are totally top secret and no one's allowed to see them until next year. Alan Campbell's got a new book coming out, Sea of Ghosts, which is just the most amazing fantasy I've read for ages. It's just wonderful. It's got everything in there that people want. Morally ambiguous hero, drug-addicted dragons,
Drug-addicted
dragons. It's brilliant. It's just so imaginative. And we've got a new Alden Bell coming out in I think it's September next year as well. So yeah, I've got a lot of new books coming out, and just hugely excited about all of them. So can I ask you a question?
Okay.
Yeah. Would you pick a card, please? No, come on, any card. It's fine. Anyone? No.
Blogs.
Fine.
How do you feel about blogs?
Yeah, no, blogs are great. There should be more of them.
Especially Unbound.
Who are you from again? Yeah, Unbound. Yeah, that's great.
Nice, thanks.
I think what we've always tried to do is publish really good, intelligently written, speculative fiction. And so that's everything, trying to do something a little bit new with the genre. Things like The Reapers Are the Angels could have been published on Picador, could have been published at Pan Macmillan, could have been published at Tor, and those are the sorts of books I love, that nobody is quite sure where they fit. I hate books that you can just automatically pigeonhole. So I think the thing I love about any of these books is there's so much. It's not just genre. There's a wider readership out there, and so that's what I want for Tor, is to be picked up by everyone. You okay?
What's this?
Well, that is the card that you would have picked had you deigned to actually choose one.
Any more of this magic business and I'm going to show you a trick where I take this card and shove it up your...
Welcome everybody to Other Books.
My name's Alasdair. I work as coordinator for fiction for Writing East Midland.
We're proud to present today in association with Tor UK.
If we look at the authors that were here today, Peter F. Hamilton is his third in the Void trilogy, The Evolutionary Void, came out in September. This is kind of really the finale of his author tour.
I write science fiction, quite large science fiction books. I'm writing at the moment is set again about 140 years time and will deal with planets other than Earth that people go on, but they'll still have the same problems that we have here today, just reflected differently through the technologies that emerge, through the different societies that have evolved, but it's still a mirror, very much a mirror for what's going on today.
Adrian, because of how prolific he is, we publish 2 Shadows of the App books a year, so he's always got something new to talk about.
I'm Adrian Tchaikovsky. I write the Shadows of the Apt fantasy series. The interkindred and the various races of the Shadows of the Apt, they are races of humans, but they've got inter-characteristics. So there are ant kindred who have linked minds, and they're very martial and warlike, and most of the time they spend feuding against each other. There are mantis kindred who are extremely swift and deadly fighters. The beetle kindred, who are probably the central race of the series, are industrious and very, very adaptable. Insects are often a very useful metaphor. A lot of writers have used them in that way to describe various parts of the human character, parts of the human condition.
And then Mark Chow-Newton, constantly a kind of hive of activity in terms of kind of PRing himself.
He is good.
And I think he's just a really good person to be involved because he will talk about it, won't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Promoting it on his site.
I'm Mark Chow-Newton. I also write fantasy fiction for the Legend of the Red Sun series, and my shoe size is sort of 9.5 or 10, depending on the shoe.
I don't like talking about my own books. I kind of feel, I know, it feels really awkward talking about my own books that much. I'll talk about the third book. The third book is, it's called the Book of Transformations. It's the third in a series, and it features a main character who is a transgendered woman. She's a trans woman. We go back to Dilgemore, the original city in the first novel. Crime is so rampant now that the Emperor needs to create a force of quite superheroes basically. Yeah, I thought that would be a really fun thing to play with because I'm writing for myself as much as anyone else.
Tony Ballantyne is just simply one of the best chairs I've ever...
He is fantastic.
As well as being a brilliant kind of author, raconteur, he's really good at chairing a whole event.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I asked him.
And I'm Tony Ballantyne, and my most recent novel was Blood and Iron, set on the robotic world of Penrose. To make a robot, you take a length of wire and twist it, and that makes it intelligent. Nothing more is required to make a mind than that. There was something about that which fascinated me, the idea that you can have something which is so purely mechanistic. You know, take a piece of wire, twist it, and you make a mind. That's quite a big bit of the book, because if you had the ability, if you're going to make your child, if you had the ability to choose exactly what that child would turn out like, what would you do with it? Would you make it shy, or would you make it happy? Would you make it fight for itself? Would you make it selfish or generous? Because you'd have to make all of those choices. I don't know, I found that really quite an interesting idea. You know, I've got children myself. If you could choose your children, how would you make them? And what sort of world would arise from that premise?
It's quite a recent move for writers to be public figures to that extent. So actually, it's really nice to see 4 people who are really confident, and really eloquent, and really expressive. It's great.
Also, with those 4 authors, I think they're all at different stages in their career, which is quite good, I think, when you're kind of showcasing, because you can have someone like Peter, who's so many books in, and he's so, he's so well established, and then newer voices like Mark's. I think it's a good opportunity. It's a good dynamic.
Yeah.
So that was kind of part of the process, the thought process behind choosing those four.
I'd like to thank everybody, thank Adrian, Mark, Peter. I'm going to thank myself as well. As I've got the microphone and I get to finish it, I'm just going to say SF is better. Thank you.
It's really nice to see two fantasy authors and two sci-fi authors getting together and discussing the two genres, how they're similar, how they're different. That's been really interesting. The panel earlier on when all four of them were having a conversation about that was really good.
Didn't know what to expect when I turned up. And then when the first panel started, I mean, you go into the auditorium and it was mostly full, which was wonderful.
You want to see that? Right. Yeah.
Is anyone wearing raffle tickets?
We're trying to film a video.
I always find these events quite intimate.
It's nice to reach out to people who don't normally read the genre.
Because it's safe to kill them, and you can kill them in all manner of ways, including humorously.
Yeah, the authors have all said that they've enjoyed it.
It's tiring. You work authors very hard at this event.
They might as well just be robots. There's nothing more to them. They're just essentially cardboard cutouts.
But I'm tired. Keep talking.
Nothing too much I want to add, apart from if I'm invited back next year, I'll certainly say yes.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I can relax now. Go bask in the glow of victory.
I'm going to buy you a pint.
I've got that. Much appreciated. I'd cook.
Oh, really?
Yeah.